Chuseok morning arrived with autumn wind cutting through Seoul. Minho stood at his mother's grave in an expensive black suit, face carved from stone. White chrysanthemums lay at the headstone. He bowed once, deeply, the way she taught him before she died, before everything went dark. The cemetery was quiet except for rustling leaves and distant prayers. He straightened up, preparing to leave. Then he saw her. A black woman knelt 3 rows away, holding white lilies like they were made of glass. She wore a hanbok fusion outfit, deep blue silk meeting modern cuts, and her natural hair was styled in twists that caught the morning light. Tears rolled down her brown skin as she whispered something in Korean to the grave before her. She bowed, forehead almost touching the ground, shoulders shaking with grief. Minho's breath stopped. His heart, which hadn't felt anything in years, suddenly pounded against his ribs like a prisoner trying to escape. He'd killed 47 men. He'd never felt fear. But watching her cry made something crack inside his chest. She wiped her tears, placed the lilies gently on the grave, and stood. For 3 seconds, their eyes locked across the cemetery, brown eyes meeting black. Her gaze held pain so deep he recognized it immediately. It mirrored his own. Then she turned and walked away, disappearing down the stone path toward the exit. Minho stood frozen. His legs wouldn't move. His mind screamed at him to do something, anything. She was leaving. He was losing her. Then his body took over. He ran. Full sprint through the cemetery, jumping over grave markers, his expensive shoes slipping on wet grass. He hit the main street and kept running. Seoul blurred around him, crowds, traffic, noise. He shoved through people on the sidewalk, ignoring their angry shouts. His suit jacket flew open, revealing tattoos snaking up his arms. A businessman yelled as Minho knocked his briefcase to the ground. He didn't stop. 1 kilometer. His lungs burned, but he pushed harder. She was ahead, walking fast, almost running herself. Was she crying? He couldn't tell from this distance. 2 kilometers. His legs screamed. Sweat soaked through his shirt. His bodyguards were probably losing their minds trying to find him. He didn't care. Nothing mattered except catching her. 3 kilometers. She reached Gangnam Station entrance. The crowd thickened. He was going to lose her in the subway. No, not like this. He grabbed a barrier and vaulted over it, landing hard. People gasped. Someone shouted about calling security. Minho pushed through the final cluster of commuters and grabbed the railing at the subway entrance, chest heaving, completely breathless. She was 10 steps down the stairs. She turned, sensing someone behind her. Their eyes met again. His lungs fought for air. Sweat dripped down his face. He must have looked insane, dangerous, desperate. He forced words out in Korean between gasps. 당신 이름이 뭐예요? What's your name? She climbed back up 2 steps. Her face showed surprise, then something harder, colder. She responded in absolutely perfect Korean, no accent, no hesitation. Why do you care? People like you only see me as a curiosity. The words hit him like a physical blow. She spoke Korean like a native, like someone who'd lived it, breathed it, suffered in it. His shock must have shown on his face because something flickered in her eyes. Not satisfaction, just tired recognition. I'm not a fantasy, she continued in Korean, her voice sharp enough to cut. I'm not your exotic fascination. Whatever you think this is, you're wrong. She turned to descend the stairs again. Minho's hand shot out, but stopped inches from her arm. He wouldn't touch her without permission. Wouldn't disrespect her that way. Wait, he said. Please. She paused, but didn't turn around. You were at your mother's grave, he said quietly in Korean. So was I. At mine. I saw your pain. It looked like mine. Her shoulders stiffened. Slowly she turned. Her eyes searched his face, looking for deception, for ulterior motives. He let her look, let her see whatever truth was written there. You don't know anything about my pain, she said, but her voice wavered slightly. Then tell me your name, he replied. Just your name. People flowed around them on the stairs. An old woman tutted in annoyance. A salaryman bumped Minho's shoulder. Neither of them moved. Why did you run? She asked. 3 kilometers in that suit. Why? Minho's jaw tightened. Because if I didn't, I'd never see you again. And I couldn't let that happen. She studied him for another long moment. He saw the exact second she decided he wasn't worth her time. Her expression closed like a door slamming shut. People like you only chase what you can't have, she said. Once you have it, you throw it away. I've lived that story. I won't do it again. She descended 3 more steps. Minho watched her go, feeling something he hadn't felt since his mother died. Loss. Real, aching loss. But then she stopped one final time, didn't turn around, and spoke over her shoulder. "Amara," she said. "My name is Amara." Then she disappeared into the crowd below. Minho stood at the subway entrance for 5 full minutes, ignoring everyone, just breathing her name. Amara. His phone buzzed repeatedly, his men, his responsibilities, his empire. He pulled out the phone and made one call. "Find everything," he said to his second in command. "Her name is Amara. She visits the cemetery every week. Korean mother's grave. I want her address, her work, everything. And I want it today." He hung up before the man could respond. Minho looked down at his ruined shoes, his sweat-soaked suit, his shaking hands. He'd run 3 kilometers like a man possessed, and he still didn't know her full name. Amara sat in the teacher's lounge at the English Academy, grading papers while her coworkers whispered in Korean near the coffee machine. They thought she couldn't understand. They always thought she couldn't understand. "그녀 왜 아직도 여기 있어?" Why is she still here? 모르겠어. 흑인이 한국에서 뭐 하겠어? I don't know. What would a black person do in Korea? Amara's pen stopped moving, her jaw clenched. She'd heard variations of this conversation 1,000 times. From coworkers, from strangers on the street, from people who smiled to her face then dissected her existence the moment she turned around. She stood up, gathered her papers, and walked to the door. As she passed the coffee machine, she spoke clearly in perfect Korean. "I'm here because my mother was Korean, because this is half my home, and because I can hear every word you say." Both women's faces drained of color. One stammered an apology. Amara didn't wait to hear it. She'd stopped waiting for real apologies years ago. The market near her apartment was worse. The ajuma running the vegetable stand saw her coming and immediately switched to rapid Korean, talking to her friend. "Hugini 한국말 할리 에옵시." A black person couldn't possibly speak Korean. Amara stopped at the stand, picked up a radish, examined it, then spoke in flawless Seoul dialect. "아이무 열마예요. 그리고 저는 한국말 할 수 있어요. 제 엄마가 가르쳐 주셨거든요." "How much is this radish? And I can speak Korean. My mother taught me." The ajuma's mouth fell open. Her friend looked away, embarrassed, but the ajuma recovered quickly and still bagged Amara's vegetables roughly, avoiding eye contact. Understanding didn't equal acceptance. It never did. Amara walked home carrying groceries that felt heavier than they should. Her phone buzzed. FaceTime from her cousin in Atlanta. She answered, and immediately her posture changed. Shoulders relaxed, expression softened. She switched to English with a natural Atlanta accent. "Girl, you look exhausted," her cousin said. "It's just been a day, Keisha." "It's always just been a day over there. When you coming home, you've been chasing acceptance from people who literally cross the street when they see you." Amara wanted to argue but couldn't find the energy. "My mother's buried here." "Your mother's gone, Mara. And she'd want you happy, not fighting every single day just to exist." After the call ended, Amara slumped against her apartment wall and let herself breathe. Just breathe. In Korea, she had to be perfect. Speak perfectly, bow perfectly, behave perfectly, and even then, she was still the black girl who didn't belong. With her black friends, she had to explain why she stayed, why she cared, why she kept trying. She was too Korean for black folks, too black for Koreans, stuck in a gap that kept widening no matter how hard she stretched to bridge it. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number, Korean, prefix. She almost didn't answer, but something made her click accept. "여보세요? Hello?" "Amara." That voice, deep, certain, the man from the cemetery. "How did you get my number?" "I needed to see you again." She should hang up. This was creepy, invasive, but her finger hovered over the end call button and wouldn't press it. "Who are you?" she asked. "Someone who can't stop thinking about you," he said. "Meet me. One coffee. If you hate it, I'll never contact you again." "I don't even know your name." "Minho. Kang Minho." Something in his voice made her agree. Maybe it was loneliness. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the way he'd looked at her in that cemetery, like he actually saw her pain instead of just her skin. 1 coffee, she said. That's it. The cafe was in Gangnam, expensive and quiet. Minho sat in the corner, wearing another black suit, this one perfectly pressed. His tattoos were hidden now, but she remembered glimpses from yesterday. Dragons, Korean calligraphy. He stood when she entered, a gesture her Korean family would approve of. She sat across from him, and for a moment neither spoke. Then he slid a coffee toward her. Vanilla latte, I guessed. You guessed right. She took a sip. It was perfect. That annoyed her. Tell me about your mother, he said. The question caught her off guard. Everyone usually asked about her, about being Black in Korea, about why she stayed. No one asked about her mother. Why do you care? The edge in her voice was automatic defense. Because you were crying at her grave. Because grief that deep doesn't come from shallow love. And because I know what it's like to lose a mother who was everything. Amara studied his face, saw genuine pain there. She took a breath and let her guard drop slightly. She was a hairdresser in Busan. Met my father when he was stationed there with the U.S. military. They got married fast, too fast. Her family barely came to the wedding. My grandmother looked at me like I was a mistake my entire childhood. The words came faster now, years of pressure, finding release. My father left when I was 8. Couldn't handle the stares, the comments, the constant questions. Went back to the States and never looked back. My mother raised me alone, taught me Korean, taught me to bow correctly, taught me every tradition. She died 2 years ago, cancer. And suddenly I was alone in a country that claims half my blood but rejects all of me. Her voice broke on the last word. She looked down at her coffee, blinking back tears. Minho's tattooed hand reached across the table and stopped just before touching hers. Not grabbing, not demanding, just offering. You're not alone, he said quietly in Korean. Not anymore. She looked up at him. Something in his eyes made her believe him. Something dangerous, something that felt like hope. Who are you really? She asked. And don't lie. His jaw tightened. I'm someone dangerous, someone people fear, but with you, I just want to be someone who sees you, really sees you. Not as Korean, not as Black, but as Amara. Her phone buzzed, text from coworker about tomorrow's schedule. Reality crashed back in. Minho's underground office smelled like cigarette smoke and expensive cologne. His men stood around a table covered in files. Photos of Amara, her apartment address, her workplace. Her entire life mapped out in black and white. His second in command, Ji-won, cleared his throat. Boss, there's something else. Her father. Minho looked up sharply. What about him? Ji-won slid another file across the table. He's connected to the Rivers organization, the trafficking ring we've been hunting. He's back in Seoul, operating in Itaewon. The room went silent. Minho stared at the photo of Amara's father, American, military background, criminal connections that ran deep and dirty, the same organization responsible for moving drugs and people through Seoul's underground, the same organization Minho had sworn to destroy. Does she know? Minho asked. About his criminal activities? Unlikely. He abandoned her 15 years ago, no contact. Minho's knuckles went white, gripping the table edge. This doesn't change anything. Boss, Ji-won said carefully. She's a liability. If the families find out, if your father finds out, you dating an outsider connected to... I said it doesn't change anything. Minho's voice dropped to a lethal quiet. Find out what the father wants in Seoul. Monitor him. But don't touch him without my order. And don't tell Amara. Not yet. Over the next 3 weeks, Minho appeared in Amara's life like gravity. At the cafe where she graded papers, at the bookstore she visited on Saturdays, walking near her apartment, never pushy, never demanding, just present. And slowly, despite every wall she'd built, she started letting him in. They walked along Cheonggyecheon Stream at night, string lights reflecting off water. He told her about his mother, how she'd raised him alone too after his father became consumed by the family business. How she died when he was 19 and he'd inherited an empire he never wanted but couldn't escape. What kind of business? Amara asked. He was quiet for a long moment. The kind that keeps people safe, and the kind that sometimes requires darkness to fight darkness. She should have pressed, should have demanded details, but something in his voice told her she wasn't ready for those answers yet. He introduced her to his inner circle one night, a private room in a traditional restaurant, 5 men with tattoos creeping up their necks, expensive suits, and eyes that had seen violence. The eldest, a man in his 60s named Dae-sung, examined her with open skepticism. "So you speak Korean," Dae-sung said, not quite a question. "Since I was a child," Amara replied, keeping her voice steady. He gestured to a dish on the table. "Jinja 한국 사람이면 이 음식 알겠지? If you're really Korean, you'd know this food." Amara looked at the dish. Fermented skate, one of the most challenging Korean foods, with a smell that could clear a room. She met Dae-sung's eyes and named every ingredient in man. Korean, described the preparation method, identified it as a jeollado specialty, usually eaten with pork belly and kimchi to cut the intensity. The room fell silent. Dae-sung's eyebrows rose slightly. Grudging respect flickered across his face. But then he leaned back and said to the others in Korean, "She knows the words, but she'll never truly be one of us." Amara heard. Of course she heard. Her throat tightened, but she kept her expression neutral. Minho's hand found hers under the table and squeezed once. That small gesture kept her from falling apart. Later, at a bar in Itaewon with her black expat friends, the questions came from the other direction. "You really dating a Korean guy?" Shanice asked. "Girl, you know his family probably losing their minds." "He's different," Amara said. "They all different until they're not." Marcus leaned forward. "Look, we love you, but you've been here 3 years fighting for acceptance from people who literally cross the street when they see you. At some point, you gotta ask yourself if it's worth it." Amara switched to AAVE naturally, her whole demeanor changing. "Y'all don't get it, though. His world ain't perfect, but at least he sees me, like really sees me." "You doing too much," Shanice said gently. "All that code switching, all that proving yourself. When do you just get to be you?" That night, alone in her bathroom, Amara stared at her reflection. She'd bowed formally with Minho's people, spoken perfect Korean, controlled every expression, then switched completely with her friends, shifting her entire being. The exhaustion pressed down like a physical weight. She slid down the wall and sat on the cold tile floor, breathing hard, trying to remember who she was when she wasn't performing for someone. Minho found her there 20 minutes later. He'd gotten a key to her apartment weeks ago, with her permission. He didn't say anything, just sat beside her on the bathroom floor and pulled her against his chest. His tattooed arms wrapped around her, and for the first time in years, Amara let herself completely break. "I'm so tired," she whispered. "I know. They'll never accept me, either side. I'm always too much of one thing and not enough of another." Minho's hand stroked her hair gently. "Then stop trying to be enough for them. Just be Amara. Let that be enough. What if it's not? Then they don't deserve you." He tilted her face up to look at him. "But I do, and I'm not going anywhere." She wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe this dangerous man with secrets in his eyes and violence in his past could be her safe place. But life had taught her that safety was an illusion. Trust was a luxury, and love was something other people got. Still, when he kissed her forehead and held her through the night, she let herself pretend. Just for one night, she let herself believe she could have this. But morning was coming, and with it, truths that would shatter everything if you've made it this far. Drop a comment telling me what you think happens next. Hit that subscribe button because this story is just getting started, and smash that like button if you want part 2. Trust me, you're not ready for what's coming.